Alright, I thought I'd do a quick mechanics overview and mini review for the full version of Samurai Warriors 5. I did beat the game with Nobunaga's campaign, but Mitsuhide's campaign unlocks after that, and then there's hypotheticals after that. And I made the decision to just say, hey, I'm not going to do all this right now, and then do it again in like 2 or 3 weeks, when or if I get my review key. I have beaten the game. The only thing that's really left is just doing Mitsuhide's campaign and then the hypotheticals if you're into that, and the Citadel mode. But I have unlocked the majority of the mechanics, so I figured I'd just knock this out really quick. Okay, so this is a pretty bare bones game in terms of modes. You pretty much have the Muso mode, and then you have the Citadel mode. So you have a bunch of menus in here. This is where you do all your skill point stuff. These are your active moves. You will unlock more of these as you increase your proficiency with that respective weapon. Like you can see, Nobunaga has three. He has 3 actives, and then he has 4 passives. As I mentioned in my overview of the demo, the passives are actually nice to have, even if you don't care about the buff, just because they act as a Roman cancel, so to speak. And they also induce hit stun, so if you have room for one, it could be nice to bring one. I think everybody's mostly just going with the attack buff. So you'll see the level up there at the top, and then also the little S by the sword. That's your proficiency. Your proficiency allows you to equip more powerful weapons, and you'll also unlock new R1 moves as well. I haven't really gotten into the horse system, but you can get around pretty fast without the horse in this game. Just by chaining Godspeed attacks and canceling it into pulse and stuff, you can get around faster than the horse from what I've seen. So here's the skill tree system. I think this is like the most clickbaity thing they advertised when they were marketing this game, because it really doesn't make much of a noticeable difference. There are some characters that do have unique traits in here, but I don't know exactly what they are. Obviously there's a language barrier. The Japanese wiki has been a little bit slow to fill out. I should tell you how much story this game has. It's definitely different from like most modern Muso games in that almost all your progression is tied to the story. It's not like, say, Dynasty Warriors 8, where you didn't have to touch the story if you didn't want to. Like, I bought that game on Switch, and I didn't touch the story at all. I just played the Ambition mode and the DLC. You can't do that here. Almost all your progression is tied to the castle. As you can see up in the upper left-hand corner, I'm at level 3 out of 4 on the castle. To get the rest of that, you need to finish all the story, from what I understand. And you can upgrade every facility. Like, this is level 3 to level 4. I think this is the barracks. You need all those materials there, and then that will allow you to raise characters up to level 45 and use your stock proficiency to level them up to level A. I think I can actually get this one right now if I did the grinding, but eventually you're going to hit a point where it will tell you that you need to progress farther in the story to upgrade things farther. Like, I've got level 3 blacksmith, and that allows me to put up to level 7 of elements on the weapons. Speaking of the weapons, this is pretty standard Muso stuff. If you ever played like Orochi or Dynasty Warriors 8 or anything, this is going to be pretty self-explanatory. However, a lot of your money, your income in the game is going to come from actually selling weapons. So even if you get a bunch of junk weapons, you actually will get some of those elements back, and you'll also get gold too. So you have a total of 315 weapon slots, so that won't fill up as fast as, say, like Orochi, where you get like 10 of them every level. It's going to take a lot longer for it to fill up. However, you are going to want to sell them because you're going to get stock elements and you're going to get gold as well. And what's interesting about this game is you can actually take a weapon from another category and turn it into another one. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that right now. See, I made a pretty decent where's the knuckles? I made a pretty decent knuckles, and you see that little hammer in the lower right-hand corner? That's actually indicating that I transferred that weapon class from another one. So you can basically change the weapon class. So generally when you do this, you want to take an 8-slot one. Like, these are the best ones you can get because this will allow you to fully customize things. You can put your agility, your slay, your wind, and whatever else you want. So let's see, what weapon class would be good? I've already got one for a lot of the normal classes. Where's dual katanas? Let's go ahead and make a dual katana because I want to make a video. So after you push X once, it will give you the option to change the class to whatever you want. So let's go ahead and make a dual katana. So now the spear has become a dual katana. You'll see it here. So you go up to the first option here, go back to the dual katana. And here is where you can put your elements. You'll get these from just playing the game and dismantling things as well. So you can get different levels of stones as well. I'm going to go ahead and take the level 5. This is attack speed. You know me, gotta have my attack speed. So put that on there. This is just base damage. I don't want to mess with this too much. I actually want to optimize this weapon, and there's a little bit of a language barrier right now. I don't want to edit the video to take that out, but these are the tiers of elements. You have these at the top. These are the most common ones, and then you have uncommon, and then you have these 2 rare categories here. So these are going to be the hardest to get, so you don't want to waste these on a junk weapon. Generally, you want to be on the lookout for 8-slot blank weapons, because that means that you can basically just skip the grinding, and you can dump this on another weapon class. There's a lot of clones in this game, obviously, so that makes things actually better in a way, because you can just take one of these weapons and you can use it on multiple characters. Everybody who shares that weapon, or if you want to just use your favorite character that way, and you don't want to grind and wait for a perfect weapon. That's how you craft and transfer weapons. Well, you can't really craft weapons, but you can change the weapon class, and then you can craft the elements on them. So in here you'll find items. You can find items that you can equip. You can only use them in the story mode. You cannot use them in Citadel Mode. In Citadel Mode, you actually get a different mechanic, which I don't fully understand. It doesn't seem too useful. So you want to go in here and buy those. As you level up your shop, you'll actually get more options for them. Okay, so that's basically the core customization mechanics. So as you can see here, this is Nobunaga Story. So basically you have 4 chapters as young Nobunaga, and then you have the totally not just some guy cosplaying as Nobunaga. It does bother me how they're trying so hard to make him not look like the old Nobunaga, but he definitely does look like him quite a bit. Outside of the voice and what he's wearing, he looks too similar. I think they could have just left him clean shaven and maybe just visibly aged his face. If you look at you look at Mitsuhide when he gets older, he actually does look like decently aged up. In any case, one thing I should mention about this game is the progression system is pretty messed up. If you try to play as anybody other than Nobunaga and maybe some other characters like Mitsuki is around for about half the game, so she's safe to put resources into, but everybody else generally don't want to put resources into them. You're actually making things a lot harder on yourself because progression materials are very sparse in the beginning of the game. It's not until you get too hard in Chaos and you unlock Citadel Mode for faster clears overall that you can acquire a lot of materials. So as boring as it can be to just play as the same character, as much as it's going to give you PTSD from Berserk Musou, which was kind of the same thing, just playing his guts for 20 hours. That's really the only way to do things. I hope that they will maybe relax their requirements for leveling up characters later on, but you're going to have a lot of characters that you'll want to play, and they'll just disappear for half the game. And sure, you can still use them in Citadel Mode, but if you're looking to make progression in the story, which, like I said, almost all the progression is gated and weighted towards completing the story, you're generally going to want to just play as Nobunaga the entire time. That can be quite boring. I do think that the story does overstay its welcome. It's kind of got the problem of, obviously, mentioning the language barrier, of course. I can't really comment too much on the story. It's got the problem of trying to take one part of the story, which generally in Samurai Warriors games you're done with pretty quickly. It's taking that and, you know, dragging it out to a full game length. The combat is quite fun. The game is fun to play, but you definitely will get tired of just using the same character, and if you try to deviate from that whatsoever, all it's going to do is just make things harder towards the end. Towards the end, when you get the cosplayer, old Nobunaga, basically, he's just going to be destroying everything, even if you don't have an optimized weapon. Whoever else you bring with you is basically secondary at that point. Alright, so let's just get into Citadel Mode run here. Show some of the mechanics. Let's do an easy one here. So these are the majority of the characters. At the bottom here, starting from this guy after Yasuke, I think this is Nobunaga's son or something. These are all unique NPCs. I don't understand what the point of them is. There's already enough clones in the game, and they just went ahead and added 10 more. In terms of unique characters, it ends here. There are a lot to unlock from the other story mode, and I guess the hypotheticals as well. So you won't have access to everybody just by beating Nobunaga Story. You will get the credits, you get the majority of the progression unlocked, but to get Chaos Mode, you will need to unlock, you will need to beat Mitsuhide's story mode, which, if you do all of it at once, you're going to get really burnt out on the game, but if you want to finish the game, unfortunately you're going to have to do that. So let's just go ahead and pick my dude Yasuke. He's pretty decked out. We can go ahead and pick him. Bishonen Ieyasu. Even when Nobunaga's like 40 years older, he's still a Bishonen. The Fountain of Youth. So you can see I don't have all of Yasuke's active R1s because I haven't unlocked them yet. So one thing you notice about this game is Godspeed attacks are both nerfed and buffed at the same time. There are a lot of enemies that will block Godspeed attacks, meaning they'll like deflect it or they'll make you use another attack. They're trying to encourage you to use more of the moves, but it definitely does feel a little annoying sometimes. So that, what I did right there is Pulse. That's like the replacement for the Spirit Dash. So you can use it to keep your momentum up or just to continue your combo. However, as you get farther into the game and you get on the harder difficulties, the enemies take out a lot more. Another advanced technique I should mention is if you hold the analog stick in a direction, your character will actually recover from a charge attack faster. If I get some peons over here, do a C4. That's how long it takes to recover if I don't hold a direction. If I hold a direction, see how much faster. Yeah, that's actually not a weapon gimmick. That's just using the mechanics. So from a Godspeed attack, you can go into normal attacks. So there are no Godspeed charge attacks in this game. However, there are the ability to go into your normal attacks. So you can cancel into your R1s at any time. There isn't really a way to decrease the cooldown, but generally in every major encounter with an officer, you're going to have some ready at least. So if you block and press X, you can dodge. However, you can't cancel into this, so it's not terribly useful, unfortunately. Okay, so let's play as him for a little bit. So your R1s have a number of uses, both from utility, keeping the momentum up, and also using them to get past the gimmick enemies. Gimmick enemies aren't much of a threat, they're more of just a nuisance. I don't have Chaos Mode unlocked yet, so I can't comment on that, but I've been playing on normal and hard is supposedly not that different from Chaos. So when enemies do that big AoE attack, you can break them out of it with an R1 or a Muso, but it has to be either a buff or an active. It will not work if you use Pulse. However, Pulse will generally clear the distance of one of those AoE moves, so you can get around it that way. So in Citadel Mode, you're not really ranked on how many KOs you get, it's more just how many points you get. So completing the objectives and getting a bunch of peons will generally get you an S rank. Depending on how strong and built your characters are, it can be pretty difficult. But I'm sure you guys saw Swillow posted some pretty busted gameplay earlier today. It gets easier as you get farther in the game. Okay, so there's some basic gameplay. Now, as soon as the game loads, I'm going to get to the clones, and I'll show you a little quick example of how they differ. They don't differ very much. It's very much like the other clone Muso games, where generally one is going to be better than the other, so unless you have a lot of character loyalty, you're going to just want to use one of the clones, whichever one has the better stuff, or the better moveset. Okay, so I'm going to play as two clones now. We're going to invoke the Clone Wars and get two people that share the same weapon, and you can see their differences. Okay, so let's put it on easy, because they're not really leveled up. Let's go with Ieyasu and Shikanosuke, because they are both dual katana clones. It's telling me that I don't have Shikanosuke all decked out, which doesn't really matter right now. Just gonna show this off really quick. See, he has a different C2. And he has a different C3. Whereas if I do C2 with Ieyasu, he has a different one, and he has a different C3. That's basically it. I think they do get unique R1s, but I haven't leveled up enough of the characters to really know. Generally, they don't have a lot of differences, though, so it's about what you expect whenever they announce that a a Musou game is going to have clones. The moment-to-moment gameplay is pretty fun, however, I think the defensive options are pretty bad. Parries don't really seem worth going for. You can't really cancel out of anything without R1s. That seems fine here. This is an easy mode beginning Citadel Mode level, but later on you're going to get PTSD from the Dynasty Warriors 3 archers. They're back in this game. They're just gunmen this time. Like, it's not uncommon to get juggled by them for like what feels like an eternity. There's just like not much you can really do about it. This is one of those games where the best defense is good offense. Just keeping aggressive as much as you can. Kind of gameplay like this. Just using your R1s to get through things aggressively. If an officer tries to attack you, then you just cancel into a buff or something to induce hit stun. Okay, let's go ahead and back out of here. You've already seen me play through a level. Overall, I think the game is fun, but I feel like the fact that they did a hard reboot is greatly wasted because there's so many clones. They're still using the charge attack system, and you know, it's just like everything has been completely redone. The art style is great, the music is great, the maps are relatively fun too. It's just everything being tied to the story is going to make you get burnt out on the game really fast, and the fact that there's only 15 movesets is going to make things wear down pretty fast too. One thing people always forget about games with clone movesets or small rosters is that the more characters you have, the more playstyles you can accommodate, and here there's just not really a lot to work with. I feel like the progression is all tied to the story because there's not really much else to the game past that. If you did plow through the story on easy, you could probably break the game pretty easily because Chaos Mode gives you so many more materials and stuff, and you can use that to max out your castle and get the max resources and just make busted weapons. There are some nice things about it, like I said at the beginning of this video. The fact that you can take a junk weapon you don't want on a weapon or character you don't want, and you can transfer it into another category is actually really cool. It does reduce the grinding quite a bit. I like how you can get a lot of the materials from dismantling as well. It's just, the game is heavily weighted towards the story, and there's not much else. The DLC Season Pass is mostly just story, a bunch of horses, and some weapon skins. They're not even decloning anybody with the DLC, and I don't understand why they're not doing that. I know that people disliked that they didn't, you know, that they decloned so many characters in Dynasty Warriors 9, and they did 3 season passes, but as somebody who paid for all 3 of those season passes out of his own pocket, I can tell you those weapons were designed a lot better. Like, the Hanzo in this game is just ridiculously busted. You can go check out Swillow's channel. That character just completely breaks the game, and you can put that weapon on anybody, and that weapon is so much more fun and faster than everybody else. It just feels like they didn't really finish a lot of the weapons. A lot of them feel very bare bones. They don't really have anything interesting going on about them. There's a couple that have some interesting stuff, but for the most part, the movesets are pretty basic, and it's disappointing that the DLC is not going to fix the problem either. I don't know what their plan is with this game. I feel like they can't really make another one because they'd have to declone so many characters as it is, but maybe they're going to do like some kind of expansion to it later on. Maybe they'll get a little bit farther in the Sengoku era story and declone more characters that way. Is the game worth full price? I think it is if you're narrative focused. If you're gameplay focused, I don't think the game has that much to offer, and you're going to be forced into the story anyway. The problem with the story is it's just way too long, and the progression materials are way too sparse for you to actually use the characters they allow you to use. There definitely are some levels in the later part of the game where they'll give you upwards of like 6 to 8 characters, but realistically, you're just going to be using Nobunaga and maybe somebody like Mitsuki, who's actually around for a decent period of time. I used her pretty much entirely for the second half of the game, and that's not entirely just because Unlike martial arts ninja characters, it's more that she was consistently available, and a lot of the other characters just kind of disappear. They just vanish for several levels at a time, sometimes like entire chapters. It doesn't really feel like the story mode is as fun as it should be because the progression system is at odds with how the story is designed, and you just can't really play as the characters you want to. They're either not available or you just don't have the materials. You know, you're fighting with stock proficiency. You're fighting with the weapons, you're fighting with the stock experience as well, and the skill points too. There's so many resources you need just to deck out one character. So if you're trying to play everybody, you're trying to actually have some variety in your playthrough, the game's going to be a lot more annoying to play. The game definitely does get better the more you play it, but I feel at the beginning it's the worst. Towards the end it's the worst too, because towards the end, when you get the cosplayer Nobunaga, basically he's like the only character available most of the time. A lot of the other characters are not available anymore, and that can get pretty boring. It does remind me a lot of Berserk Musou, where it's like the gameplay wasn't bad, but the campaign was kind of torture to get through because you just couldn't really use anybody else. However, when you do get to Mitsuhide's campaign, you do get a lot more leeway with what characters you can use, because at that point you can grind in Citadel Mode for a bit and deck out some characters so that you have a little bit more variety. But the first playthrough definitely gave me a very bad impression. After I beat it, the game definitely does open up quite a bit. You get more customization options, you get more characters, you have more abilities to actually power up characters you want to use and use them more freely. But first playthrough is pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what the future for this game holds. I think it needs a lot of work. Just the balancing and the progression systems and stuff, and the fact that there's so many clones, and the fact that the movesets are not even created equal. You have some like Nobunaga's, which are busted, and then you have like Hanzo's, which is busted, and then you have ones like the Fists, which are fun to use, but they're very lacking in range, and they're not anywhere near as fast as the other weapons, so they just feel kind of disadvantaged from the start. That's basically all I've got right now. I'm going to be putting up some more gameplay, but I don't think I'm going to play through the other story mode because I've already pretty much covered all the bases in this video, and I'm probably going to be getting a review key in a few weeks, so I thought I'd just give people my impressions, a little mechanics overview, and a mini review. I'll probably have some more gameplay throughout the next week or so. I'll try to do as much as I can with as little grinding as I can, because I'm not looking forward to playing through that first Nobunaga campaign again. It's going to be torture. I wouldn't put it past myself to just put it on easy and get to the fun part. If you're a gameplay-oriented Musou gamer like I am, this game doesn't really offer much of anything until you beat the first campaign. And then even then you have to go through another campaign, so once you beat the first campaign, you might want to just go into Citadel Mode and grind out a couple characters, get a couple decent weapons, put a little time into building weapons for each weapon class, and then that should allow you to try out more characters or have a lot more freedom then. But if the first playthrough really bores you, it's not just you. It feels like they could cut the progression requirements for all the materials and stuff in like half, and it would make the first playthrough a lot smoother. But the way it is now, you really are just going to want to just play as Nobunaga and like one other character that's consistently available. If you try to do anything else, the game's going to punish you for it. Anyway, I hope that helps you guys make an educated purchasing decision. I'll see how much more grinding I want to do before the US version comes out, and then from there, I'll be playing on PC. Thanks for watching.